So yeah, my name is Wish, and I help with the NMFAST program as more of a consultant. My day job is I run a company called Quinergy in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we do a lot of tech development for the government. And so I'm very familiar with a lot of government contracts and ways to get money from the governments and such. And one of those ways is the SBIR, if you're a small business, or an STTR, if you're a small business that wants to work with a university or a research organization. So this presentation, there are 4 parts. And at the end of this, Michelle, if you want to talk about what's happening at Texas El Paso, that'd be great, okay? Would that work?
Yes, this is Melissa.
Melissa, sorry, yes, sorry. Yes, Melissa, sorry about that. So you can talk about that part at the end of this. Would that work? Because they'll have a basic idea of the SBIR program and so on and so forth, how to get it and so on, and then some experiences will be perfect, okay?
Sure, yes.
Okay, so we're gonna go with 4 parts here. First, kind of an introduction to the SBIR STTR program, what it is, where it comes from, that kind of stuff. Then the proposal process, how do you use the SBIR STTR program? Then the third part is, especially for this presentation, which is specific to USDA agencies SBIR program. And we have Dell on the line, so he has much more expertise than me. I have a lot more expertise in the DoD portions, but we can both answer questions. And then, of course, the NMFAST program that we're part of and how we can help you, walk you through a lot of these things, okay? And why we are here, what we do.
There's also a notice for EPA. Also for
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of agencies in there. So, so the first part, SBIR STTR program. What is it? Really, it's a program to support scientific excellence and tech innovation by using federal research funds, which are very critical to our priorities as a country, like for national security, the national economy, and all those kinds of things. Anything that has value to the government agencies, right? And so they're going to fund it, and they are funding things that are very novel and innovative. And in some cases, they make exceptions sometimes to do things where you just use a various available technologies you're putting together in some format for use for their purposes, okay? But that's rare. But generally, that's what it requires, an innovative new way of thinking. And so the idea here is the small business will grow, it'll create the technology, it'll create value both for the government and will have a commercial value to it too. So you grow the local economy and of course the national economy, okay? And that's a big part of it. So what are the goals of the SBIR program? Of course, to meet their needs, the federal R&D needs, right? And it also a secondary goal, but very important now, this has been more and more important in the last 10 years, is to improve private sector commercialization of these innovations. So they really want to see how you can transfer this idea that's going to be used for the government for commercial use, okay? And hence, in doing so, they want to stimulate technological innovation, and of course, they want to foster and encourage participation by minority and socially disadvantaged communities. Okay, persons rather. By the way, for people who are on the online, please who are here, please jump in and stop me if there's any questions. Okay, we're going to keep this an open forum relatively. Don't wait to the end. Okay. So, why would you go after something like this, right? Why would you just go with the regular way of going and finding investors, angel money, and all these things, and improve your increase your stability as a company and develop? Well, this is essentially that for the government. This is your government seed funding program. Okay, think of this as your funding you're going to get from the government to develop your product to a customer. Okay, and hence learn more about your idea, whether it's going to work, what the problems are, and so on. Until you start doing it, you don't know. So that's what this is. It is risk-free. In terms of risk-free, I mean there's no equity taken. Okay, so there's no equity, so you don't lose it. If you go to an investor, they're going to ask for equity. Okay, So in this case, there's no equity taken, so it's actually pretty good deal, okay? When I say risk-free also, it is, if it doesn't work, okay, that's okay relatively. Nobody knows if it's gonna work or not before you start doing something. It's very rare, okay? So if it doesn't work, and it's not a sure thing, that's okay, okay? It's about learning whether your idea is gonna work. And that's so, in that sense, it's risk-free. Nobody's gonna come back and say, hey, where's my money? Give it back to me, okay? And this is important for small companies, is company retains full data rights. So whatever innovation you have, you get to keep the idea for commercial use, okay? The government will not disclose the data for at least 4 years after the full program is complete. I'll go into it later, but this program has multiple phases. Until you get to the end of the last phase, the clock won't start ticking, okay? So it's a long time really that you will have, the government will not disclose this data, okay, to anyone. And when you are done with this and you develop it as a product, the government will be able to buy it off of you. So you have a customer ready to go to buy your stuff. So you don't have to worry about too much about marketing it more. At least you have some revenue coming in while you try to commercialize it to the commercial arena, right? So it's pretty good. And so no black marks for up to a 75% failure rate. So you can't, I mean, the idea here is if you keep writing SBIRs, okay, and you keep failing, at some point they're going to think that you're a snake oil salesman. That's what I'm trying to say here. So fundamentally, you have a 3-to-1 shot, okay, for failure to success. Even that they don't count as failure. You don't really, you know, depends on as long as you're giving the deliverables. Here, failure means you're not delivering what you promised, okay? In many cases, in phase 1 of this program, it's a report that you deliver, okay? Which you should be able to deliver. That's not counted as a failure, okay? So it really, where you get to. So this last point is actually kind of there because it's part of the stipulation. So that's all. So let's go to the next one. So what an overview. When did this start? What happened? So of course, like I told you, it supports R&D and tries to finance innovative technologies. It's almost approximately a $2.5 billion annual set aside. So it's a lot of money that is set aside to do SBIR. Okay. SBIR, by the way, is Small Business Innovation Research, innovative research. Okay. Small Business Innovation Research. Okay.
STTR.
STTR is Small Business Technology Transfer Research. Okay.
This R&D.
Research and development. So a small portion of the research budget of all the agencies always set up for SBIRs. So in this case, it's 3.2%. As you can see, the set aside changes by year. FY11, it was 2.5%. FY17, it's 3.2%. So now it's going up and up and up. They want more and more innovation because what they're finding out more is the big companies are good at what they do, but they're not flexible. Okay, so they are set in their ways. They're going to do this. So if you want something innovative, flexible, adaptive, you need to work with small companies to do this, and that's what they want to keep their competitive edge in the world. And so they want to fund small companies, and so that number keeps going up. Okay, and to date, 160,000 awards have been granted, and you can go to the www.sbir.gov website, and you can learn a lot more about SBIRs. Okay. Yes, sir. Question? Yeah, okay. And so that was the SBIR. STTR is a sister set aside, right? This is more for core. So SBIR is for small business. You start a company of 2, 3 people, 10 people, 20 people, whatever. SBIR can go, correct me if I'm wrong, Del, up to 300 people, is it? Del?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. What was that, Wish?
Yeah, a small business is technically up to 300 people, right?
500.
500 now, okay. So 500 people. So it's technically not as small as you think, but okay. You know, so SBIR is for a small company, and you're gonna, write a proposal, get the money, it's for you. STTR is slightly different because it is more for trying to make businesses cooperate with R&D agencies, research and development institutions, like labs, universities mostly, okay? And that's the STTR. A smaller portion of the budget is assigned to the STTR than an SBIR, okay? as you can see, is 0.45% compared to 3.2%, right? And so the overall budget for this is less than the SBIR, okay? And so, but you can do this if you are working with a professor or somebody at a university, and this is a very conducive way to go rather than an SBIR, because there is, you'll see it soon here, there is limitation of how much money you can have or give, these guys to do the work, depending on the type of contract or grant.
So what constitutes U.S. research institution?
Universities, national labs, those are all research institutions. So UNM, NMSU, New Mexico Tech, Northern Arizona University, any of those, any educational institution, research, they're all research institutions.
There's actually a definition and list on SBIR.gov of what type. There's roughly 4 types, as Wish mentioned. Essentially, it is any university or non-governmental agency or a federal lab or another type of a nonprofit that receives R&D funding.
So, thanks, Bill. That's cool. So, here, this is why it's the difference between SBIR and STTR, right? For an SBIR, the R&D is primarily done by the small business, okay? 2/3 of the money has to go to the small business. So, and hence the work done. When I say work done, money, same principle here, okay? So 2/3 of the work has to be done by the small business. Up to 1/3 max, okay, can be done by other people. It can be a combination of other people. It can be one type of company or university or something, okay, or a consultant, or it can be a combination of everybody else. So realistically, if I have 150K awarded, 100K has to go to the small company. 50K can be distributed amongst various people to get the work, okay? So, and most importantly, this last statement here, formal intellectual property agreements are not required between the small business and these various institutions, okay? The government just wants to get the work done. They're glad whatever you promise as a deliverable, you deliver, okay? That's SBIR. STTR is slightly different because it's a cooperative R&D effort, okay? What they mean by that is a minimum of 40% of work has to be done by the small business. You can do more than 40%, but a minimum of 40%. But the other caveat, the bigger one is here, which is a minimum of 30% of the work has to be done by a research institution, okay? So you have to give about 30% away for work by the other person. That's fundamentally the point here, okay? And you do have to have an intellectual property agreement between you and the research institution, okay? So there's no confusion later on, say, oh, this was mine, that was yours, and and so the government doesn't want to get involved in all that later, okay? So you guys have your agreement. And up, as you can see, this is, if you do the minimum, then 40 and 30, you have 30% left. So technically 30% can be done by others, which could be each of these. It doesn't have to necessarily be others, okay? Since it's only a minimum. Any questions on that? I know it's kind of confusing sometimes, but nope, cool. Okay, so that comes to what type of end contract or whatever you have, vehicle do you have, right? So there are 2 types of vehicles you get. One is a grant, to get the money rather, the grant or a contract. Grant is the easier way to go in some ways, okay? It's flexible, it's more that the funds are provided to support a public purpose, right? The principal investigator has more freedom in defining the scope of work, right? It's flexible with respect to the budget, and usually you draw down on the money, as you go, okay? And it cannot be used for classified work. If you're working with DoD, especially, this is important, right? But, and requires best efforts in research. So if your deliverable is a little shaky and you really didn't get there, it doesn't matter so much, okay? It's between you and the point of contact with government. You can work it out, you can make things change, and somewhat flexible. And it's easy to amend and revise, right? And these last 2 are more, as to when you do proposal writing, right? The question and answers about the solicitation that comes out, okay, about the proposal request that comes out, are not made public. It's between you and the point of contact, okay? And the application defines the scope of work. So if they want some work in some particular area, that's what defines the scope of work, okay? A contract, which is more common actually in many cases, especially DoD all does by contract. I'll show you in a second who takes contracts and who does grants, is a binding agreement. It's like a buyer and a seller, right? For goods and services. So they say, okay, at the end of the day, I want this. And clearly that's what they want. So the deliverable is a little more specific. Scope of work is fairly inflexible. I use the word fairly in a very broad, I'll put it in bold letters almost, okay? Because at the end of the day, they want your application to work for them and provide a solution to a problem, okay? So if along the way you find out that, hey, by using this path, I'm not going to get the answer, but if I make a slight hack and do this and I can get the answer, usually I have never had a problem where the point of contact says, no, don't do that, follow this, you know? Because at the end of the day, they want an answer, okay? So in some ways, they are inflexible in terms of the deliverable they want, but in terms of how you get to the deliverable, they'll work with you, okay, as you go along. So is fairly inflexible, but, you know. And payments are usually based on deliverables and milestones, okay? And deliverables can be, by the way, reports. So if I give you a quarterly report, okay, I can get paid quarterly by the report. Deliverable can be prototypes or a little gizmo or something to test, okay? So you send them something, they pay, okay? And that is not always the case, by the way. That depends on the type of contract. We won't get into that here, but there are two types of contracts. If it's a fixed price contract, that's what it is. That's what it's based on, okay? But if it's a cost plus contract, then it goes on, you bill by how many hours you spend and stuff, okay? But that's the case. If you have classified work, especially like with the DoD, you have to use a contract. You cannot use a grant. Okay? Did anyone have a question? Hello?
Who determines whether it's a grant or a contract?
The agency itself will ask for it that way. So that will be at the starting point where you have the solicitation request itself. You'll know whether it's going into a contract or a grant.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So the contract also requires delivery of promised goods or services, right? Determined by the client. And the modification, they modify the contract and stuff. Any modification will make stricter standards. And the question and answers when you have an RFP or require for proposal, the solicitation, will be public. Everybody will be able to see. Okay? And the government defines the scope of work. They have certain needs. That's what they want. And so your application or your product or idea or whatever has to fit their need. Okay? And that's the difference. Okay? This all becomes an issue once you win something.
So it has to fit their need.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, questions up to this point? Okay. So here's an example, the question you asked before, here it is. Which ones do contracts or grants, right? The whole bunch of these agencies on the left-hand side here are all only contracts, just about, okay? The ones on the right are all grants. The middle one will do both, depending on what the solicitation asks, okay? So typically, NSF, again, remember, if you look at the right, the grants ones, they are a lot more researchy agencies they deal with usually, hence grants, if you think about it. NSF, National Science Foundation, has a lot of work they do with universities, right? And so they do a lot of grants. DOE does a lot of work with national labs, research institutions, and therefore they fund those things. So it's grants. USDA, same thing, okay? On the left, these are all product-based. If you think about a lot of these things that you guys do here, okay? So they're all contract. They want a device at the end of the day to monitor something, to kill something, to shoot something, to, you know, make something happen, right? So that's typically what happens with contracts here on the left. Okay? And that's what you got. Okay? And again, it comes with the solicitations. When you look at the solicitations, you can figure that out. Okay. So the typical structure of an SBIR is this. Okay, you have a phase one, so a smaller amount of money. Okay, that's given to you to first explore your idea to a great level. This depends on the agency. It depends on what it is. So the level of exploration changes. Some people more want harder evidence, like prototype level in some cases after phase one. Many mostly just want your exploratory research, or just go look at papers and figure it out and see if the idea is nice. More a proof of concept. Okay, so that's phase one. Then from phase one, you go to phase two. If your idea has merit and you've proven that, it'll move on to phase two, where you can make prototypes, you can test it and all those things and make sure it's all good. Phase three is more getting into commercialization and production and manufacturing, that kind of stuff. Phase one and phase two will get funded directly. Phase three usually is some sort of a match or whatever, but you have to show other kinds of monies that come in, okay? And that's the phase three. There is also a place in between. Let's say you got to phase two, you have a prototype, you show that it has promise, but there is a problem, you know? There's some more work that needs to be done before it can be taken in, right? There's what they call a phase two enhancement you can get over here, which is a fair amount of money. You can go into that. So there's really technically four paths to go before you get to it. Why this is important is, remember, at the end of the day, I told you that the clock starts ticking. The clock doesn't start ticking until you finish this. So it's a long ways out, you know? So, oh, okay. They'll put this together. You have some cool stuff here. So this is typically what it is, like I told you before. And this is how much you get paid over a 6 to 12 month range. This number has been changing, by the way. When I started about 10 years ago, the highest you could get was 100K. It moved to 150 and now 225. Okay, the lowest used to be less than even 75K, now it's up to 100K. The timeline is 6 to 12 months, depending on the agency, depending on a proposal. Some of them have a phase one option, which means there is always a little gap between phase one and phase two, and some of the agencies don't like you to have that gap, would like you to continue work. So they fund you for a phase one and then fund you a little more for a phase one option to kind of bridge you between phase one and phase two, okay? And there's about a 15% success, you know, when you submit, depending on, yeah. Especially when you work with NMFAST, right, Del? Yeah, when you work with NMFAST, your success rate is probably better. Because we've seen these things.
Well, we hope so, at least.
Yeah, we hope that's true, yes. Phase two is a full-scale research or full-scale prototype. It's half to 1.5 million, and the period of performance is 2 years, okay? It's a fair amount of money, okay? If you've completed your phase one successfully, there is a 50-50 shot almost of you getting a phase two and winning it, okay? So that's pretty good. So once you do a good job or get phase one and get through it successfully and well, and they say, yeah, go for a phase two, you have a 50-50 shot of making. That's pretty good at that point. So if you're doing the math with me, I always look at the math, money thinking. Right now you're talking about 1.75 million potentially, a max amount of risk-free investment dollars to be able to do what you need to do to prove out your technology. That's pretty good. And you are not beholden to investors after you're done with this. So phase three is your commercialization phase, okay? External funding is required. So if you have investors at that point or whatever, external funding will come in and you can show matching funding you get from, or some level of matching funding you'll get from the SBIR and STTR, okay? Most of the times. That's your three phases. So how do you get this? That all sounds wonderful. How do you get it? You know, what do you do? Then you come to the proposal process. So typically what happens is you'll get solicitation topics that come in, you know, in FedBizOps or one of those places, or even SBIR.gov, okay? And they come at different times of the year. Some agencies have one time a year they come, some do 2, some do 3, you know, and those kinds of things. So you look at the solicitation topics, you figure out which one fits you, right? How you can help in that particular one. Then you prepare a proposal package. You submit the proposal, they have deadlines for when to submit, and then all that. They evaluate the proposal and decide whether you're going to win. And if you win, woohoo, wonderful, okay? So that's the process that happens. It's a relatively long process typically from the time when you get the solicitation topic to submission. Typically is about, it could be up to typically about 6 to 8 weeks, you know, typically for DoD at least. Then, you know, then the preparing proposal, you get 1 month for the preparation of the proposal package typically. And then when you submit the proposal, then evaluation probably takes a couple of months. And then true award and getting the money in hand could be another 3-4 months. Okay, so plan for about a good 9-month process approximately to be safe. Okay, from initial start to award. The few rules. The application may be submitted to different agencies for similar work. So for example, if I got a solicitation that came out from the Air Force and said, oh yeah, you know, I need this battery, this type, whatever, to be able to last this long and do this, okay? And I want it for this use. So I say, okay, wonderful. You know, you write a proposal saying I have an idea that will do this particular chemistry or whatever. Then I see a different proposal, say, that comes in from, I don't know, EPA that says, hey, I want to monitor some things, but I need a battery that does this. And you present the same technology development path to EPA also. You can. You can submit the same type of proposal to 2 agencies for similar works. But if one of the agencies accepts your proposal and you're going for an award, you have to recuse yourself from the other agency. You can't double dip. Okay, so that is what that means. Okay, so go for it and spread it out, try various things. But once you get the money, or you're going to get the money from one, you have to recuse yourself from other agencies, unless the other agency's work is significantly different from the one you proposed for this one. Okay? And this is a good little tidbit. Allocate yourself about 100+ hours to prepare a complete proposal package, especially if you're new to this. Okay?
That's with the help of NM.
That is with NMFAS and everything. You still need to do a pretty thorough work for it, because it is still your proposal. NMFAS will not write your proposal for you. It will help you edit it, will help you give you guidance with it and all those things, but you'll still look at about 100+ hours. Just to give you an idea, okay, to get this much money out of an investor, okay, you'll be putting months of work and kissing up to a lot of ugly frogs. I'm telling you that. I've done it. I've been there. Okay, and you'll be giving up a lot of your company to do this. Okay, so I tell people, just because it's the government, don't poo-poo it. Okay, and just because it's the government, you know, don't take it put less effort in it than you would if you're going to an investor. Okay, so this is important. So make a very strong case for it, because if you win it, life is really good. So. And so what do you got to do? The other things you got to do as you're starting the proposal, if you find a topic you like and so on and so forth, you have to register with a bunch of stuff for a bunch of stuff. This is not very hard. You just have to plan it, okay? It takes a little time to do it, but that's okay. First, you have to have a DUNS number, okay? Don't ask me all the acronyms yet, okay? You can figure it out. If you don't Google it, you'll know all this. DUNS number, I have a DUNS number from God knows when, now I can't remember what it is, okay? And all agencies need it. All agencies need these top 3, okay? You have to be registered in SAM, okay? That's all of these guys. And this is all on websites. You can go, and NMFAS will help you with all of this.
For both.
Okay? You have to register your company in the SBA.gov. And then, depending on the agency, you have to register in one or multiple of these guys, okay? So I am very familiar with DoD. So DoD, we do a DoD submission website. So it'll give you a password, and so you get registered in. Your company information goes into it, so they know what your company is and all these things, what area you are in, those kinds of stuff. Okay.
Is that one time?
Huh?
Is that one time?
That's a one time.
Okay.
It's a one time. It may ask you to keep updating or your password or whatever every year or something. But yes, it's a one time job, right? So all of this is a one-time.
It's one time, but you have to update it. I think it's like every year or every 2 years.
Every year, yes, every year. But the funny thing is, if you update something or go in and mess with it every few months, the time starts after you update for a year. So unless it's dead and buried for a year, it won't fit out. And it'll send you a notification saying, hey, it's ready for an update, by the way. So, so we have currently at Quinergy, we are registered for the DUNS, SAM, SBA. We've done NASA, so we are registered in this. We have done grants with DOE, so we are registered with grants.gov. We have applied to NSF, so we're in NSF Fastlane. We have done DOE, so we have all of these guys. And we are predominantly DOD, so we have the DOD submission website, okay? There are more, wait, it's not done yet. There's a few more, because there are more agencies. So these are all the agencies you asked, remember, early on when we started? Whole bunch of agencies that have SBIRs. Each one has their own little unique changes, okay, as to what they want and how they want the proposal and all those things. So during proposal submission, work closely with NMFAST, okay, and read the solicitation carefully and make sure you follow it to the T. You don't want your proposal to be rejected for Mickey Mousey type of stuff, okay? You want it to be rejected because you messed up and you don't have the right stuff, you know? You know what I mean? You don't want it to be rejected, of course, but if it is, it should be for the right reasons. I'll tell you, it's an embarrassing story. We had that happen to us for an Army proposal. Everywhere it said 24 pages was the limit, okay? So we had a 24-page limit, we wrote the proposal, everything was fine. In small letters, specifically in the Army solicitation part of the DOD, they said the limit was 20 pages. They just threw the proposal out, it didn't even go in. So it is, you know, we didn't read the fine print on that, and that's the problem. That's why NMFAST is invaluable. We will read it, we will make sure. If you run it by and say, that's compliant, that is not. You don't want, after all your hard work, for something to be tossed out because you had the wrong margins or the wrong page limit or any of these kinds of things, okay? Or you're missing a section, okay? And they specifically ask for. You don't want to be rejected for any of those reasons.
I have a question.
Yes.
Supposedly your application is rejected. Can you reapply? Is there a time limit before after submission to the time you want to resubmit your application? Is it like a 3-month or 6-month timeline before you can
resubmit? As long as there's a topic open, you can. It has to be submitted to a specific topic. You can't resubmit to the same topic.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, there's a funny thing that just happened to us 2 days ago. Del, can I tell them the story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen it. I think Del will vouch for this because I think it's the first time he's ever seen it. So we don't know what happened. We submitted for an Air Force SBIR proposal in the first solicitation request of this year, which is called 18.1. We submitted it in February to the DoD website, and we got rejected I got a letter of rejection in April saying they couldn't because they didn't think the team was strong enough or something like that. The ideas were good. They were very complimentary of all the ideas and the innovation and all that, but they were a little shaky about the team, okay? So we said, fine. So I asked them for a debrief, which you are allowed to do if you get rejected. So they sent me a debrief as to why they rejected it. And it was very fair, and so good. And that debrief we got in May. 2 days ago, we got an email saying our proposal for the Air Force was accepted. The exact same proposal that they rejected, 60 days ago. And so I don't know what happened. I still don't know what happened. I'm so confused. I've never seen it happen before. So all I can tell all you guys is keep up hope, okay? You never know. So I will find out eventually. I hope this is not a prank. And so, because the letter came from the exact same person with the exact same distribution list. And so I don't know what happened, who knows? So this was no resubmission, nothing. It was completely in the dark. Suddenly they opened it up and said it was. So anyway, I'm not saying that'll happen often because I've never seen it before, and it happened this time. So I don't know if they're reevaluating things that are sitting there still. Who knows? You know, maybe they had a first cut and a second cut. I don't know. So that's a new one, by the way. So continuing on with this one, did I answer that question?
Yes, thank you.
So it's a valid contract if you accept, right?
Oh yeah, it's a valid contract. They're going to call me for contract negotiation, and then we're good to go. Yeah, it's their choice to say, yeah, this is good. You know,
So life is good for you.
if it is true, yeah.
As long as he accepts.
I will accept, of course.
The contract.
Yeah, it's still a negotiation, right? I hope we don't screw anything up and we make the contract. So we'll see. So yeah, here are all the registrations by agency, right? Again, we can help you with all of this, by the way. Don't feel overwhelmed. If you find a topic in a solicitation that fits your expertise, areas that you're in, we will help. We'll walk you through this, okay? So then I come to the USDA part of this, okay, for the SBIR program. So that was a general stuff about all of the SBIR program. Will be specific to USDA for this presentation here. The mission here is, of course, from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, okay? It wants to offer competitively awarded grants to qualified small businesses to support high-quality research for important problems in agriculture that could lead to significant improvements in their public benefits, right? Highlights. It is administered by NIFA, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. They would love participation by university, faculty, or government scientists in SBIR projects, okay? Remember, the grant, okay? USDA is grant-based. Like I told you before, they are all innovative typically, but there are two areas where they will allow you to use off-the-shelf technologies for specific use, right? That would be rural and community development and small and mid-sized farms.
Off-the-shelf technology.
Off-the-shelf technologies mean you can get things off commercial vendors and put something together to create something for them. It's not something extremely novel or innovative or way out of bounds or whatever.
Okay.
So, okay. So when they look at your solution, they're not going to go extremely into whether it is extremely innovative or not. You'll get a little break on it, is what that, in these two areas. Because there's a bunch of areas, okay? And I think that'll come up later. So the USDA SBIR program, the annual budget is $22 million, okay? Funding opportunities are grants only, okay? In this case, phase 1 grants are 8 months for 100K. Phase 2 grants are 2 years for 600K total. Okay? Hello, any questions over there?
No.
No?
Good.
Okay. So here are all of the topics, right? All kinds of topics. You can read this. Okay. By the way, if you're registered and signed in here, for the people who are not registered here physically, please send Dell your email, and for Dell or myself is fine. Mine is just wish, W-I-S-H, @quinergy.com. If you send it to me, your information regarding your email, your name, and whatever, is that what's registration? Yeah. If you send us that, we will send you this presentation. So don't need to, worry about if you wrote it down or not. Okay. We can do that, right, Del?
Yes, we always send it out to participants at the end. So
yeah, I can send it too. So just let me know. It's good. So these are all the various areas. And like I said, these two areas you can use off-the-shelf technologies. Okay. In these also you can use off-the-shelf technologies. Many people do anyway, but it has to be very innovative way you use Okay, so this is a timeline. This gives you an idea of how long the wait is, right? I told you 9 months, really 9 months to a year, but okay. So phase one. So when you're doing a phase one, the request, usually this is called RFPs, but that's okay. Request for proposals will be released in July of this year. Okay, that's when the request comes out. The proposal deadline is, they give you a fair amount of time, is October of 2018. Okay, so you have October of this year by the time that happens. The panels and everything go through all the reviews and all that for this to figure out, they rack and stack and tell you whether, you know, you're going to get, not get, whatever. And that happens through into February of 2019. And you'll get the notifications in March saying you got it or didn't get it or whatever. Technically, the awards happen, meaning the money, the project starts in June to August of 2019. So typically 2 to 3, 4 months, somewhere there, this is where we are. Okay, so it's about a year for this kind of stuff. If you've done your phase one and you go to phase two, remember phase two is only open if you've already got a phase one and you completed it or through most of it or whatever. And your program manager on the other side will tell you if that's a good idea to go for phase two or not. Okay, depending on how you're performing. Hopefully you're all performing fantastic, so of course they'll go to phase two. To give you an idea, if you're very dedicated and perform, there's a very high probability you'll get it. At Quinergy, so far we've had 4, 5 SBIRs, okay? We've had only 1 that ended at phase 1. The remaining 4 all went to phase 2. In fact, 2 of them went to phase 2 enhancements, and 1 of them went from this to a different program for a rapid innovation fund that was a 2-year, $2.2 million program, okay? So you can really do well, meaning if you perform. So when you do phase 1, always think that you're gonna go all the way. Don't think, okay, I'm doing phase 1, okay? So always plan for that, because there's a high probability you can do it. What I'm saying is think big, okay? So phase 2, if you already got a phase 1 award and you're ready to go, the request for proposal for this next one is going to happen in December. And the deadline, you know, for applications is going to be 2019 February. The panels get done in May, notifications go out in June, and awards are by September of 2019, okay? In some ways, you can see that this is a little shorter timeline than this. Just because it's already been pre-selected in some ways, right? Only much fewer people are going to go for phase 2 compared to phase 1. So that's the USDA timeline. So typically, what do you want to plan for when you write a proposal? Okay. So Dell has put together a beautiful thing like this. This is important to know. And typically, early on, when you see the topics come out, okay, identify the agency subtopic area that you think is important. Okay, that you can go into, develop your innovation to that topic, understand how you're going to fit into it, you know, study it, understand it, identify the team and the facilities that's going to do this work, okay, in the first 4 weeks of your preparation for writing the proposal. That's a long time, I think, but sometimes you need a lot of information from other team members to make sure this is going to happen, okay? So that's why this is important. It takes longer than you think. Next 2 weeks, you can now have a pretty good idea. You've talked to your team, everything is good. Then you can write a simple executive summary. It has to be concise, clear. You have to know exactly what it is. At this time frame, you're allowed to talk to the point of contact, okay, at the agency, all right? And that's very, very, very important. It's good to talk to the guys who you're going to end up working with later on, or working for later on, say, and know what they really want. So make sure many people, I've seen this very common. People think this idea is so perfect, it's awesome, it's mine, of course, you know. I'm going to definitely change the world with this, right? And they don't talk to the agency point of contact. And they don't get it. And they wonder why they didn't get it. Turns out the point of contact was looking for something slightly different. If these guys had talked to them and had, you know, modified their proposal to more fit with what their needs are, they had a better chance of getting it instead of saying, I know what's good for you. You know, that's a very common misconception. People think they know what's good for the agency. Don't. Always talk to the point of contact if you can, and make sure you know what's good for the agency. Read through the request for proposal, okay? Read it very carefully. And begin the registrations. This means all of the registration list you saw, get it done, okay? Some of them you can even get it done before, but get it done. It'll take you a couple of weeks. Then you start writing your proposal, okay? 4 weeks, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 weeks should be enough. Most of the time of writing is actually the second bullet, obtaining the external letters of support. This is what takes a long time because other people have other priorities. You are not their highest priority, especially if they have big company support or whatever. Give them enough time to be able to get you a letter of support that's signed by their VP or whoever. Because those guys are traveling, they're having their own business discussion, they're running after their monies. You know, you're not that high on their radar. Give them time. Always remember, your tardiness is not their urgency. So this external letter of support is what will take most of this. But still, you want to write a good proposal. So make sure you run the proposal by a bunch of people you know, get it done. By this time, you should be able to complete all of these registrations and plan for external reviews. What we talk about here is external review, meaning NMFAS will review your proposal for you if you send it early enough to them. We want a minimum of what, 2 weeks, Del, maybe more if possible. If you give us 2 weeks.
That would be preferred because usually it will take us a few days to actually review the proposal. And if you wait too long, it's not behooving you as the client because you won't have time to integrate our feedback, because that's what you're looking for in an external review by us, is for us to actually give you feedback, tell you where there's some missing sections, tell you where there's some weakness that needs to be improved. And if you try to have us review it like within a couple hours of when the submission is due, then you're not going to get good feedback and you won't get time to integrate the feedback. So
yeah. So that's 1 whole week at the end if you get to obtain the external reviews, okay? And then you revise and submit. I know we hammer on this a lot, but a lot of people don't follow it. That's why we do this. We hammer on this a lot. Because even the latest submission, which was due today, okay? The people were sitting in my office asking me questions yesterday of some of the basic things you need to know that you should have known by reading a lot of these registration stuff and knowing what you should have. They submitted it, but I can't guarantee you at that point because it's a haphazard, quick thing that they had to put something in together without a detailed evaluation of what they should have done, you know? So, but hey, just saying. And so that's because if somebody was going to give you $150,000, okay, you're not going to go out there and throw something out last minute, right? And do a song and dance presentation to these guys? Of course not. They will rip you apart if you tried that to an investor. So if you do this, you know, you put a lot of effort into doing that song and dance carefully. I'd say give this the same level of attention. So, okay. So the proposal package. Okay, so it gets submitted to grants.gov. As you know, there are strict requirements. This is the key. Well, like I told you before, don't get cut out and your proposal thrown out for Mickey Mouse stuff like this. There's very strict requirements on formatting, length, and content. Okay, content. There are very clear sections they want you to say, right? And those sections you have to address very specific things. Okay, look at the RFA and make sure you know that. Okay, and write that to that level. I know you want to tell them the world, but first answer their questions and then tell them other things, okay? Fill out all forms completely. Have a very good commercial potential argument as to why this thing has commercial potential. Like I've told you, the last 5-7 years, they've gotten a lot more picky about showing commercial potential. Be succinct, be better than me in my presentation, be more clear and sharper, okay, in your proposal. And be innovative, okay? The project narrative should follow all guidance on requirements, including the type of sections they want, pages, etc. Even if a section does not have something that is applicable to you, write the section and say not applicable because of something or whatever. Don't blow the section off, okay? And exactly, don't include extraneous information beyond their requirements, okay? And that, convince the reviewers that you have the necessary expertise, resources, and support to perform. Present a compelling case that you fully understand their problem and that you know the current state of art and the problem is important to American agriculture. So if you do that, I think you'll have a very strong case for getting money. So typical contents for the USDA proposal, for this one, right? This is for this one, the one that's coming out. First, a one-pager that includes a description of the problem or opportunity, project objectives, description of the effort, and potential commercial application. A short, little, succinct, brief executive summary, right? And then the proposal itself is 16 pages that will cover first the identification and significance of the problem, a detailed idea as to why this problem is important and why this matters, right? Why is this a problem? In many ways, you can kind of parrot this from the topic itself. That's their problem, right? In some ways. So you're just repeating their problem for them. You can add a few things, but that's what that is. Second, you put in a background and rationale, which is what do you expect to do and why are you doing this? Okay. And then you have a section that's actually pretty important, which is relationship with research or R&D, current R&D. So what is the relationship and how will it grow in phase 2? So what are you doing? How are the steps you're going to follow? What's your approach? Okay. And then this is more a, what have you done in the past in some ways, or what somebody else has done in the past, and how does it relate? Technical objectives. In this, obviously, clearly, what will you accomplish in this project? Okay, on this work. Work plan. What are your specific tasks, and how are you going to complete them? Okay. And in here, I would even add a project schedule. If you have a schedule out for the project, then you schedule it out and say, okay, for the 8 months, first 2 months I'm going to work on this, and the next 2 months I'm going to work on this. You know, if you have a schedule map, they like these things. So put that in there too. Related R&D. What have others done? How are you unique in some ways? But more importantly, what have others done? So more importantly, you know what others have done, what the state of the art is, and you're not just going out there and saying, see, I can do this. You know, that you have actually done some work on figuring out what others have done and how you are special. Then, what is your commercialization plan? The potential post-application, okay? So, and then the last one is satisfying the public interest. How will it satisfy at least one of NIFA's strategic goals? And I'm assuming this NIFA strategic goals you can get from their website. Right, Del? Hello?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. And if you need
And it's also in the RFP package.
Yeah, in the RFP package, it should be there. Okay, this RFP.
Excuse me, RFA, request for applications.
Yeah. So the budget again, like he says, is 100K for 8 months for phase 1, and there's a budget justification how you're going to spend the money. Meaning towards labor, travel, equipment, all these things. So you need a budget justification as to where the money is going to go. Okay, and who's going to spend it? You know, how much this much is going to go to us, a subcontract, or a consultant, whatever. Right? Okay, the review process. Once you submit, what happens, right? So it is screened for responsiveness of to the solicitation. Okay, this is what the reviewer is looking for, right? What's the importance of the problem? Do the PI's qualifications, the principal investigator's qualifications and experience match the proposed work? Okay, you have to be that, because there are cases where, because especially in grants and stuff, where the PI is some person in the company, somebody else may have the expertise, but this person doesn't. You'll get docked for things like that. Does your response fall in the topic area, or is it just the I'm kind of exploring things kind of study? I'm not so sure. I'm kind of looking at things, right? So what is it? And one of the important one is, does it follow all the formatting requirements? Okay, that's what they're looking for. So the external technical reviewers select those with highest scientific and technical feasibility. Obviously, they want the highest chance for success, okay? And the review panel is comprised of universities, government, and nonprofit institutions. Believe it or not, I've reviewed SBIR proposals before for other topics. So there's some examples here. You want to go over these examples, Del? A couple of them?
Sure. So one of the things that USDA has funded, and this was actually funded, I believe, 4 years ago for a phase 1, is Ag Squared. It's a record keeping and farm management platform so that you have all your historical agricultural data, including yields, crop conditions, field conditions, in an app that you can actually run off of your phone. This product moved through both a NSF phase 1 STTR as well as a USDA SBIR phase 1. And then they got a phase 2 to actually finalize their development and to test the platform. So this shows that you can actually move through an entire process with the SBIR and STTR programs where you can take portions of your technology or portions of your innovation and use those as a guiding force and a guiding factor to kind of come up with little snippets of, okay, well, this is the base innovation, this is making it better, this is improving it, this is looking at a new commercial market. Through the app, it actually allows farmers to fully manage their farm. They can track all the expenses, they can do their ordering, they know exactly where they source materials from in the past. And since their beta was launched in 2013, which was their beta rollout of their commercial product, there's 13,360 farmers that have used it, 38,829 fields that have been managed, and a total of over 1 million farming tasks that were recorded. So that just shows that USDA does a lot of different things. So when you think USDA, a lot of people think, oh, well, they're just looking at new types of seeds or something. It's like, no, they do a lot in technology too, whether it's part of precision agriculture, whether it's actually tracking historical data, whether it's doing condition monitoring for things like precision ranching. They're interested in a wide variety of innovation as long as it answers some sort of agricultural aspect. And if you flip to the next one there, Wish. And so this was actually also an interesting one. This was also a USDA SBIR phase 1 and a subsequent phase 2. And then they got a second phase 1 and phase 2. So Stony Creek Colors is a bio-based dye company to replace the synthetic dyes that we normally use for things like jeans, scarves, shirts, where they don't have natural dyes. It's all just chemicals that have been found that work, and they dye the crap out of it with random chemicals. Well, Stony Creek thought that that was extremely wasteful. They wanted to improve on the resource allocation. They wanted to make a more green technology because those dyes were harmful for home dyers, for people that were doing home textiles. And so they developed a phase 1 and phase 2. Their first phase 1 looked at indigo and walnut brown for their initial dye products, indigo for jeans, walnut brown for actually doing darker color jeans, mixing into the indigo, as well as for doing scarves and things like that. And then they got a subsequent SBIR to develop their supply chain management for sending those dyes out to manufacturers, for sending them out to home consumers. Currently, they have 7 different dye colors for home textilers, and they have distribution agreements with Southern Hues that makes scarves and wraps, and also Lucky Brand Jeans and J. Crew. Lucky and J. Crew actually have special product lines that are Stony Creek dyed jeans. You can actually find them for sale on the Lucky and J. Crew websites. And they're looking at expanding product lines to other materials. I wouldn't be surprised if they submit a SBIR for that as well. And so this just kind of really shows you the gamut of different things that USDA funds. At the top of this USDA portion, when it was mentioned that two of the topic areas can take commercial off-the-shelf technologies. One was the small to mid-sized farms. That was actually what the Stony Creek was funded under for their topic area, was small to mid-sized farm, because they started off with a home farm, a small-scale farm, to actually harvest these bio-based dyes and to create them. Because the small to mid-sized farm topic area not only covers what are some innovations and some things that can help those small farmers, but what are some interesting areas to take products that come from those small to mid-sized farms and put them in new areas, new commercial markets, and things like that. Next slide.
So for USDA SBIR resources, you can go to the USDA website and they have webinars. There are 3 pre-recorded sessions and you can find them under the phase 1 and phase 2 solicitations page. NMFast, we have a bunch of resources. You can go to our YouTube channel, you can register. We always like more clients. And Dell has recorded a bunch of stuff in there that will be very useful to you as you're writing proposals and areas. We have our NMFast website that has information on it, where Dell also has a compliance matrix he puts together for every solicitation that comes out, every agency stuff that comes out. So there will be a compliance matrix that he'll put together for the USDA one, which will also have a little checklist as to make sure you've picked off everything you need to do, make sure you're compliant. And then a newsletter we have every month that you can look at who's got what, how they're doing. We usually feature somebody, in each newsletter. So it's always good to be part of the community, SBIR's community. And there's a continual way of doing stuff, and getting yourself into the SBIR community and getting yourself into a funding path with a clear customer in mind. Because many times we have trouble finding customers. We have an idea, but we don't know who cares. Here's a way also of automatically matching a customer to your idea. And if the end person is funding it, you already have a way to find out who cares if you do this, and it's nice. So part 4. So where do we fit in really as NMFast? Okay. More than we, I mean Dell and Dana and all those guys. I'm just a little consultant. I fit in too, but the overview. Hey, there it is. You asked the question. Federal and state technology partnership programs. See, all I had to do was read that. It's funded by the SBA, Small Business Administration. The goal is to strengthen the tech competitiveness of small businesses. Okay, that's what FAST is for. Okay, all the 50 states, District of Columbia, and U.S. territories may apply for this. Okay, so there are now currently 21 winners, 16 state-based FAST programs, us being one of them. We are one of them. And 5 small business tech development centers are also there. I think we have a map that shows where they all are. So here is NMSU, Las Cruces. And so that's where all the yellow dots are all FAST organizations. The blue dots are the development centers, okay? And so we all kind of work together. We talk to each other and stuff, and there are bigger meetings and stuff where we share information. And this is a competitive stuff, so we have to bid a proposal for this. It's a grant proposal, and you have to win to get it. And we won it now, I want to say like three years in a row, is it now? Dell, are we going for year number 3?
We're year 3 finishes up September 30, and we've just submitted for year 4.
Year 4. So of course, the NMFAST people, we are the people. Zeddy is in Las Cruces, and she's also the director of the Arrowhead Technology Incubator. And Dana is based in Santa Fe, and she does the program management with Dell, and also writes the proposal, research and grant. Her expertise is in grant writing. Dell is our program specialist. He's on the phone. He's located in Las Cruces, in the hotter part of the state. He's got business development experience, and he can guide you through the proposal quite a bit. He has some invaluable expertise in looking at proposals with a critical eye okay, and make sure you're compliant and everything. And I have both personal experience with them, writing a proposal, and professional and experience doing these, okay? And I can tell you it's awesome. And of course, this is me, Wish, and I'm based in Albuquerque. I advise, and I'm the CEO of Quinergy, which is a technology development company, okay? What do? We have the email, we have the newsletter monthly, we told you that. We have a lot of resources available on the website, we told you that too. There's a video podcast series that covers different topics, so you can go in there and see who had experience in certain things and what they did. These are small, short podcasts, so it's very little bite-sized pieces to digest it. We have free workshops throughout the state. This is one of them. We do proposal development assistance, okay, which is generally, like we said, send the proposal, we'll look at it, we'll give you feedback, telling you what's weak, what's strong, edit this, edit that, you know, all these kinds of things, right? We can give you that by just actual proposal itself. And of course, the service will be tailored to each client, depending on your technology, which area, whatever. We'll put you in touch with people who we think may have interest in your ideas. Then we also have a little piece, which is a $650 micro grants available to help newcomers with proposal development. These actually are micro grants that will go to experts in the field, for example. So we've used this micro grant for a variety of our companies have used this micro grant for a variety of needs. The most common one is usually for a cost proposal development. When you're trying to cost your company, you want to try to figure out what's going to be your costs, right? What's your rates, what's your costs, what's your labor costs. Labor cost is not just salary. There's a bunch of stuff that goes into your cost, okay? So what's your fringe, you know, what are your benefit numbers, what are your overheads? All that can be done with experts who've done all of this and make sure it's all government agency compliant, okay? So this, for a phase one, it's not as important, but still it's important to know where you should be to be prepared, okay? So we have a lot of help. We can provide services for that, okay? So this comes out of NMFAS to the expert to give a few of his hours, his time to, you know, help you develop the proposal. So this money is not going straight to you, it's just $2, okay? But it is to help you get the proposal through. In New Mexico, where have we been, done, whatever, as you can see, there's a cluster of whole bunch of stuff we've done everywhere. We have partners with a bunch of people. These are all the partners who are experts in various areas who will help you. We have clients, that's you guys. If you write proposals, you are our clients. They're located all over the place. And of course, where all we've done the workshops, right? And you can see we typically follow the higher populous communities, but it happens, okay? So many times they come to our proposals, whether it's Albuquerque or not, you know, those kinds of things. And so this is our usual, you know, traveling schedule, say. So this is the $650 micro grant, right? We call it phase 0, you know, technically it's for writing a proposal, right? Pre-phase 1. And usually it's used for any expertise in a bunch of different areas, okay? It could be market research because you have to write the commercialization section, so maybe you need some market research to figure out if your innovation will fit some market or whatever. Of course, to write the commercialization plan assistance because a lot of people are weak in that. They know their technical area, they know what they want to do, they're not sure how to commercialize it, right? So you have that. Of course, we also have external technical advisors who can look at your stuff and say, yeah, this makes sense. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? You know, those kinds of things to just tighten that technical aspect of your proposal. There is, of course, a technical and grant writing assistance too involved in there. We could also help you identify business or research partner. We know a lot of agencies, a lot of companies who may fit in with you to be able to provide a strong proposal with a stronger team. We have councils on patents and technology licensing. These kinds of things are important, especially in STTRs, okay, where you need to have that cooperative agreement in place, right? And so that one. And this one, budget and cost rate development. This is important because you have to write a cost proposal, you know how you're going to spend your money, what is okay to spend your money, you know? And so that is going to be that. And we also have some DCA and auditing compliance. This is gets very important when you go to phase 2. Okay,
What's DCAA?
it is a government's auditing agency,
Oh,
contract auditing agency.
okay.
And so that they will audit you later on. Not now, not a big deal at this point, but when you go later on, they'll audit you. Quinnergy has been audited multiple times with flying colors. We passed, knock on wood, but it's important to know that, hey, you passed, you've done well. That makes the contracting guys more comfortable about contracting with you. It reduces the time of getting to contract because the negotiations are a little easier because you can always say, see, they don't balk at some of your rates. You say, oh, wow, you're going to cost that much. You say, oh, look, it's approved by DCAA. They go, oh, okay then, you know. So those kinds of things. But that takes time developing. At this point, don't worry too much, depending on how early you are. And but that over time you develop those expertise and the experience and the trust to get to these things. But that's what the $650 micro grant does. You're allowed 2 per year, or 2 for the same SBIR. Okay, up to 2 for the same one. Is there a per year number, Del?
No, it's we can provide up to 2, and it's just as long as you have not had a SBIR or STTR award within the past 2 years. We can explore possibilities of if you're a prior winner and you've won, more than 2 years ago, but you need a micro grant for a new submission or a companion funding submission or something like that. We can explore that possibility. And of course, it's always dependent on available levels of funding. That changes on a quarter. So if you are one of our clients and do need some very specific guidance or very specific help on your proposal development, definitely reach out to us. We can discuss that with you and see, one, if we have the capability in-house, we might not have to rely on a micro grant, but 2, if we have a service provider that can provide that level of assistance that you require. But we're always willing to work with people, so contact us.
So this is typically how the micro grant works. You negotiate. This is done between Dell and those guys, okay, and the rate between them and the service provider, right? Whoever that is, they are the ones who get paid the $650. And NMFAS will pay the service provider to work directly with the small business, you guys, okay, for SBIR, STTR assistant as to your needs. And there's an extensive network of this already and it's being built upon as we speak, as it goes on. And there's an intake interview we usually have after you come to talk to us. We just talk to you about what your idea is, what you do, what areas do you think you're going to be fitting into, what agency might work well for you, all those kinds of things, simple questions. And that intake interview puts you in our queue. You are in there, you're one of our clients, so we work with you, okay? We keep in touch with you as to your needs. Whatever you need, you can talk to us. This is all free of charge, of course, okay? In summary, we assist you in identifying the appropriate agency and topic area once we know what you do, of course. And we provide how-to information on agency registrations and electronic proposal submission. Told you about the various agencies, all these registration minefield. It's not a big deal, but you still have to do it and check all the boxes. We'll help you do that. We'll help you guide through the proposal preparation, assessment of the technical objectives, commercialization plan, your research hypotheses, and that's creation of supporting documents. This is all in our evaluation and such. We provide access to a suite of SBIR, STTR resources, with websites and various things. And we will definitely review your proposal drafts with feedback. Just give us a little time. Don't give us last minute. We will still do it, but give us some time, but we will review it. We are only as good as you use us. Let's put it that way, okay? And we also offer micro grants for new awardees for up to $650 twice for each proposal, okay? And I am at any questions.